Today, a gun control bill advances in the Senate with the help of 14 Republicans. Biden's administration keeps talking about an economic transition. Wonder what that is. And could Gavin Newsom be the Democrats' pick for 2024? We'll get into all of that and more, and it all starts right now. Welcome to the News and Why It Matters. I am Sarah Gonzalez, today joined by BlazeTV contributor Jaco Booyens, host of The Bottom Line, which you need to be subscribed to. YouTube, Instagram, Free Space, everywhere that you can get video and media. You need to be subscribed to that. Also joined by Jason Buttrell, chief researcher of the Glenn Beck program and nerd who reads things that nobody else wants to read.
I just got into the 200-page curriculum from West Point, which was absolutely insane. I should have submitted this because
you should have.
Very woke.
Wild.
But
maybe tomorrow or something.
Or if we have time, maybe we can talk about it later. I don't know.
I'm just thinking about the nerd connotation.
He's okay with it.
Is he?
Yeah, I think so.
Because I will tell you, when you walk about 150 feet outside this door, there's a really mean motorcycle.
It's true.
An Indian. That belongs to you.
That's my outside
no nerd rides that bike. I will just tell you that much.
Well, now I know I'm going to get. My mom told me earlier.
See there?
Don't give Jason a hard. My mom apparently is a bigger fan of Jason than me. So she was like, "Don't give Jason a hard time today when he's on your show." And I'm like, "Mom,
I'm nothing but sweet to you all the time, 24/7.
I don't even know where the stuff he was saying when I was pregnant."
Come on now, she's sweet to you. You're talking about a pregnancy month. She's sweet to you.
So anyway, sorry, Mom. Okay, with that being said, 14 Republicans joined a, of course, largely Democrat effort to advance a gun control bill in the Senate yesterday evening. The bill passed 64-34. This was, of course, only 2 hours after the text of the bill actually circulated. It could be passed later this week fully by the Senate and then would move to the House, where it's expected to obviously pass, and then, of course, to Joe Biden's desk, which, I mean, you'd think that he would sign unless he just forgets what he's doing and writes like some other signature. I'm not sure, but it's 80 pages and it includes language on, of course, highly controversial red flag laws. It provides grants for states that implement their own red flag laws and offers additional funding for both school safety measures and mental health services. John Cornyn, who is, of course, one of the supporters of this, one of the betrayers of the United States Constitution, he said that the bill's not going to create a national red flag law. States can receive funding regardless of whether or not they enact such a program. And, of course, you guys, knowing what we know about how much the FBI has failed us in previous shootings that have occurred, Parkland and others, how there are already bureaucracies that are supposed to be handling when there are reports, when there are warnings that aren't handling them. Of course, we're now giving the FBI an additional $100 million for that. So that's great. For an additional amount of salaries and expenses, $100 million to remain available until expended to meet additional resource needs of the National Instant Criminal Background Check system. It's also going to expand background checks for prospective gun buyers between the ages of 18 and 21. Now, this is, look, it may add a couple, 3 to 10 days waiting period before they actually receive the weapon, and it's going to incentivize states to provide access to previously sealed juvenile records. But at the end of the day, it's just interesting because you look at this, and I asked the question on Twitter. I have yet to find an answer that isn't no, but it's like, is there anything in this proposed legislation that would have prevented Uvalde from happening? Because that's the entire reason we're having this conversation, because all of the Democrats and these stupid, cowardly Republicans got together and said, well, we have to do something. We have to do something about this so that this doesn't happen again. And yet no one can tell me one thing on this list of all of these encroachments on your rights that would have prevented any of it. What am I missing? Am I missing something? Because it seems a whole lot like these Democrats and 14 Republicans got together and circle jerked over, let's do something. And all that turned into was Oh, they're just going to take away your rights, law-abiding citizens' rights.
It's exactly what happened, my opinion, and Jason's going to give you a very educated opinion on this. But look, for me, ironically, I did not know, but I ended up in an NRA meeting on Monday, and this was a topic of conversation because they were assuming that this was going to happen. And my understanding of this document, Sarah, is it would have done nothing. And not just that, the conversation with a former president of the NRA on Monday was it will not prevent anything like that in the future. So it must be Republicans placating to the left, extending their political will, which they owe, quote unquote, because this is how they do. They trade off a little tit for tat. I'll help you, I'll scratch your back, you scratch my back. These are the betrayers of the Constitution. These are the ones that roll over when the left waves the flag because they must do something. Versus doing something proactive that actually works. The issue on sealing juvenile records, though, has been a long-standing issue. That's been an issue of trying to, manage that system of if there's a juvenile and there is a record, do you strike it, do you not? But the funny thing, and I'll close with this, is there's only ever in the history of this country been 2 school shootings that included minors shooting at their own school, and that, of course, was Columbine and now Uvalde. And again, they're looking at 18 through 21. It would have done zero to prevent this individual, which I don't want to say his name,
thank you,
that shot that school up, right, to do that, because there was no red flag for him.
Well, I mean, his
no
mom,
one was reporting him. No one was calling him.
Even after his mom, was
she asked for mercy.
Don't judge him.
She asked for mercy.
He had his reasons.
Exactly.
Really? To kill innocent children? Okay.
So there was, my understanding is there's nothing that would have prevented that situation or situations like that from happening, right? Because the issue is, in fact, not the gun.
Right.
The issue is other things we should be discussing, like mental illness and conditions that indicate to us, and actually having the FBI that's now getting $100 million, actually having certain issues stay on the record so that we actually can track people, because they're infamously, complicit in interviewing people who people do call, kind of a red flag on, and then just striking it from documents. So, I mean, the FBI, I don't see them doing anything in this. We're going to wait a little longer, Jason, now, the younger people, when they want to buy a gun. But that's my opinion, is it would have done nothing.
So, Jason, I want you to jump in here, but I think it's important to list. Look, you expect it from the left, right? You expect it from the leftist authoritarians who never really cared to abide by the Constitution. They only use it as a term to throw out whenever it suits their political whims. But the Republicans, I felt like, used to try to stand up for the Constitution, try to make sure that big government isn't infringing upon your constitutional rights. And there are 14 of them. I think it's important that we list their names, because I think it's very important for these people who keep voting these jerks back into office. Stop. They are not on your side. Mitch McConnell, of course, John Cornyn here in Texas, Lindsey Graham, Bill Cassidy, Roy Blunt, Richard Burr, Mitt freaking Romney, Rob Portman, Shelley Moore Capito, Joni Ernst, Lisa Murkowski, Todd Young, Tom Tillis, and Susan Collins. Every single one of these Republicans should be primaried. Every single one of them the next time they are up for re-election.
Every single one of those Republicans that you just mentioned. Actually, I shouldn't air quote them, because that's really pretty much what the Republican Party is turning into.
There's 14 of them.
Right. Yeah, I'm glad you said
Mitch
that.
McConnell?
Yeah, come on. Yeah, I mean,
majority leader?
It's because it's turning into not a party of conservative values and principles anymore. It's turning into basically what the Democrat Party was, 20, 30, 40 years ago, something like that. That's the direction it's going to. And you said earlier, it's not about the gun, and it's not about the gun and the Democrats' perspective either. It's not about the gun for these rhinos right now. It's it's not about the gun. And I keep looking beyond this, like what is the finality of this? Where are they actually going? And you look at the scariest thing in this, which is for me the red flag laws. Granted, they're not, as he said, making a nationwide red flag law, but they're encouraging it at the state level. They want this to happen.
It's a precedent.
And, right. And that's all about, the end of due process is what that is. Even though they're going to warn vigorously that no, it's not about, they have to do red flag laws. I think I read this, but but it still have due process. Bull crap. This is you're eliminating due process. That's what this is all about. You take it a step forward. Look where they're going. They want you to have less rights, not more rights. They want to have more power and you to have less power. $100 million to the FBI. Look at the trend on that. You're giving more and more money to federal law enforcement. Capitol Police.
It's growing government, Jason. They're constantly growing government.
Capitol Police just got a ton more money. They got more powers. They established a surveillance arm, intelligence arm that they branched out into other places outside Washington, D.C. Just this week, it came out there was how much was $725,000 in ammunition that the IRS just bought. That's a couple of things. One, that's scary that a federal, the IRS. I mean, talk about nerds with guns. So I'm more scared about that than my neighbor with a gun, for crying out loud. But not only does that give a federal enforcement entity a lot more firepower, but it also creates a shortage. A lot of people aren't looking at that. They're forcing shortages of ammunition. If they can't get rid of your guns, they're going to get rid of your the things that fire out of your guns. That's going to be a big push now.
Did you see? Was it Texas only, or am I completely losing my mind? But there was a bill passed where you cannot disassemble and clean your gun in your own home. Did you see that?
I heard about that.
They want it less safe? I don't understand.
Yeah.
No, I'm telling you, look into this. It's real. You cannot clean your gun in your own home. You're supposed to take it to.
I think they were discussing it as part of the negotiations in this bill, but it didn't.
But I wouldn't be surprised if they pull something like that.
Well, it's sad that that's actually something that they discussed even as a potential possibility.
Well, you know what's next is you can't load your own ammunition in your home,
right.
It is a small grab. You eat an elephant. Yes, I'm from Africa. You eat an elephant one bite at a time.
Yeah.
And you give them a bite, they'll come for more. So encouraging state to have red flag laws, they're going to have red flag laws.
Yeah, you're exactly right. It's the slow erosion of what the country that you used to remember. You're not going to recognize it. It's very, very slow, very methodical, small, nips at freedom is what it is. It reminds me of that, the old Fabian socialist group over in the UK. And they're the ones that, spearheaded the National Health Service and a lot of other, tips towards socialism over in the UK. But they had a plaque, or it was actually a stained glass mural, and it showed a wolf in sheep's clothing slowly molding the world, little by little by little.
Wow.
And I mean, it's even in their own imagery, a wolf in sheep's clothing. They're not going to be overt about it. They're going to be very slow, very methodical. How about we just do this? How about we just fund these red flag laws? How about we do this? How about we do that? And eventually you wake up and you're like, what country do I live in?
But Jason, they always need some of our supposedly group to support them. And you said something that I don't want people to just miss. You've got the leader of our party, leadership, jumping on these kinds of bandwagons. That is a disaster. That's a red flag. You want to know about a red flag? Here's the red flag. The GOP is ill, and we've got leadership that's not with us, and all the way up into the Supreme Court, some of the quote unquote conservatives are in fact not conservatives.
And every time I get kind of optimistic about some of the new blood that's getting into the party, you have people like Dr. Oz, for crying out loud, and you're like,
but he was funded have you seen the amount of money that's coming from the left? They've raised more money, and they're pouring it into conservative campaigns. They're funding gubernatorial races that they know can't win. They're funding the right, and these guys on the right are taking money from the left.
Well, peculiarly enough, I saw that Dr. Oz used to put Trump was very prominent on his website, the endorsement, and now all of a sudden it's curiously gone.
Huge surprise.
I wonder who funded that campaign.
Shocked. I am shocked
to
hear that.
Campaign?
Shocked to hear that. I wanted to throw in a tweet really quickly from Kevin Sorbo that I saw earlier. It said, I was considering reselling my guns to the government, but after a quick background check, discovered they have a history of violence and instability. So that's a pretty big red flag there. All right, we've got more to come. First, we want to thank our sponsor, Omega XL. So if you maybe have some pain, and I'm not talking about a pain in your neck like, your husband or your wife. I'm talking about actual pain in your body. What you don't realize is that it's likely inflammation that is causing that pain. And unless you actually defeat the inflammation, it's just going to continue to go on more and more and more. And it could even cause permanent damage. If you're using a topical cream, maybe you're like, wow, it's icy and then it's hot and then it hurts again. Don't do that. All right. You got to try Omega XL. It's actually going to get to that root cause of the pain, which is, of course, the inflammation. It is an essential fatty acid combination from the waters of New Zealand, and it works. And it can get you out of pain, and it will be life-changing. You can order a bottle of Omega XL now. Get a second bottle for free over at omegaxl.com/news. That is omegaxl.com/news. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre struggled to provide a coherent answer on how Joe Biden is going to address skyrocketing gas prices during a press briefing yesterday. And she kind of had a little Freudian slip there, started to say that the president is trying to elevate Americans' pain, which actually would have been probably the one true thing she's ever said. Watch.
I mean, the president has been very clear in making sure that he does everything that he can to alleviate the pain that American families are feeling when it comes to gas prices.
Wow, that's affirmative action right there. There it is. And she wasn't done, though. She wasn't done. She was also asked at the press conference about Americans' concerns about a coming recession, which seems to be like the logical conclusion of where we're headed. But she said, no, there's no recession. It's actually just a transition, guys. Congrats to your new society. Watch.
So we see that the strengths our economic strength that we have seen from this past year, from the action that the president has taken with the American Rescue Plan, with what we have seen with the historical gains, that is going to help us deal with the recession. Right now, we don't see a recession. Right now, we're not in a recession right now. Right now, we're in a transition where we are going to go into a place of stable and steady growth, and that's going to be that's going to be our focus.
Nobody else agrees with that. Nobody else agrees with that.
Well, it's like she's like, well, we don't see it that way. That's not what it is to us.
Steve, well, you just rename it. You just rename it.
As long as you don't see it that way.
We don't think it's a woman. We just rename it.
It's just
we just rename it. This is not a recession. Steve Moore, who is an incredible economist, absolutely unbelievable to Trump and many presidents. Steve told me the other day, we are in a recession.
Like, we're already there.
We're already there.
Yeah.
He's like, Jaco, do not be fooled. We're there already. You're going to feel it later, but we're there. And that's typically people will deny what they're guilty of. She goes, we're not in a recession, because they know they are. Well, I saw a meme or a tweet where Biden said Americans just won't allow themselves to feel good about how good it's going.
I remember
they won't
when he said
allow
that.
themselves to feel good about it.
Yeah.
It's going well, guys. We just won't allow ourselves to smile when it's $6 at the pump.
You don't like spending $105 on gas?
I mean, the level of insanity.
What's wrong with you?
Yeah. We should smile. We should celebrate him.
You should smile while you're taking that gas pump right up anyway.
Tailpipe.
Tailpipe. There you go. CNBC, they did a poll of like all the top CEOs, or CFOs, I can't remember, of all the biggest Fortune 500 companies, and not a single one said that we were not headed for a recession. Every single one said it was going to happen. The only thing they disagreed on was whether it was going to be next quarter or the end of this year or the beginning of next year. Mm-hmm. And so I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think like a textbook recession is two back-to-back
quarters. Yeah.
Two back-to-back quarters. And it's funny that the Fed just said that, okay, our projection economic growth, they said it's 0.0% growth.
Because it's negative.
That's a heck of a specific number.
Yeah,
and
right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, are you sure you didn't drop just a little bit of a point?
Exactly.
No, they set it at that. They rounded up big time.
Rounded up because
to get
we
to
are
that.
negative. Yeah.
Because they don't want. I mean,
because 2 quarters in a row would equal a recession.
Yeah, I
absolutely.
think every time the Fed has had to do this. So I think that I can't remember. Politico did a really good piece on this. I think they looked at every single time. It was like 10 times that the Fed has actually had to do this since that they've been a thing. And 8 out of 10 times, they triggered a recession. just from them trying to escalate, and elevate the rates up to try and get inflation under control, 8 out of 10 times. So an 80% track record says that we are about to hit a recession, if not already in a recession. Wow. So the data is there.
Right.
It's
numbers
stupid.
Don't lie.
Yeah, they don't lie.
Look at that
stupid
number
to
on the
deny.
screen, 745. It doesn't lie, 765. The president can tell you should feel happy about that, but it's just not going to happen.
Well, it's funny because it's not just the president. It's also people, mainstream media outlets like MSNBC, ABC, Washington Post even. They are I want to just call them characters at this point. The characters on those particular channels and those outlets are warning voters against gas prices influencing their vote in November. So they said, listen, it's a fantasy. This is a Washington Post columnist, Catherine Rampel, told readers it was a wild fantasy to believe that the GOP could lower gas prices. Okay, so think carefully about what they'll get if they cast their ballot based on gas prices, is what she said in an opinion piece over the weekend. And they're just MSNBC, Morning Joe. Here we go. They said that, oh no, what if pocketbook issues would win out with voters this year and in 2024 as more important to Americans than America's democracy being in peril? Oh no! I mean, I feel like if America's democracy was actually in peril, it would be something that the average American would be affected by. It's just that it's not, except it is just from the left.
Look at the contrast from the Democratic Party from even the Bill Clinton era when he was, blue collar Bill.
Yeah.
I mean,
you can't recognize them.
No, you can't. They used to understand that, look, people's pocketbooks, that's where, sorry for the pun, that's where the money is.
Yeah.
That is exactly how you win votes.
Yeah.
Not only that, but it's just also the moral thing to do. Make sure that people, prosper and they have more money and they can use that to, enrich themselves. But they don't. But they're not. They're acting like people are stupid right now. It's absolutely insane. Mm-hmm. Joe Biden just hit the lowest point. Was it that of any president in history at their 2-year mark?
Did he really?
Yeah.
I didn't see that.
Just hit that mark. And it's because of stupid stuff like this.
Yeah.
You make a point,
me?
and I'm asking myself, is it really that they believe America is that stupid? Maybe, but I think they're just that desperate. What else do they have, though, Jason? What else do they have other than just saying, you're not seeing what you're seeing? It's really not bad. You should be smiling. Because there is no remedy. There's no uptick for them. There's no way to take this downhill skiing accident that's about to happen and turn it into a victory for them. There's nothing. Mm-hmm. They have. I can't find a way, Sarah, that they can turn it. It's a runaway freight train.
Well, they're trying to turn it by playing the blame game and like Russia and Putin and all that stuff. That's like the one thing that's like the one distraction. Even though I think it was today, Jerome Powell was asked point blank by, I wish I could remember the congressman that asked him, but said, is inflation today the primary driver the war in Ukraine? Is that the primary driver? And he said, no, inflation was already bad before Russia invaded. Obviously, we knew this. We can see this. Yeah. So it's not Putin inflation; it's Biden inflation. Mm-hmm. No, I won't even say that. It's not only that, but it's also the stupid Republicans that agreed to pass these ridiculous bills even before the election.
So they do play the blame game, but they also sort of like subtly admit to the fact that they are trying to transition into just kind of a new America. I want to be very careful with my words here because I don't want to get us kicked off of YouTube. It's just that there's a guy who you probably know who works here who just wrote a book that you should probably get. And it's kind of talking about all of these transitions that all of these countries and economies are going to have to go to.
You mean the amazing do-over? That's what you're talking about.
Yes,
the amazing
actually.
do-over.
Yes, I am. It's called The Amazing Do-Over. And it's just when you hear people talking about these transitions and you hear Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm saying that all of this upheaval is actually a great time to transition to this green economy, which they keep, this is not a one-off. They keep freaking saying it. Let's listen to that.
We've got obviously all of this upheaval. We've got the coming out of the pandemic. We've got this obvious invasion of Ukraine on the energy side. And we've got the moment to think and act strategically about lifting up communities and building these supply chains out and building out the installations in a way that give everyone a chance to succeed.
Never let a crisis go to waste, or in some cases, make sure you create the crisis so that you can create the solution.
Yeah, and their solution is enslavement. It's slave camps. It's China. It's you work for Uncle Sam.
No. You will own nothing, but you will be happy about it if you.
You just. If you're not happy, it's because you choose not to be happy.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
By being entrapped and by being. Look, this is. In the day of talking red flags, here's your red flag. Run from the government. Vote differently. Trust none of them.
Yeah,
I mean, kidding.
Agree. You're speaking my language there, brother. It's insulting, the fingers that they're trying to pointing to blame for our current situations. It's absolutely insulting. And it's just such a wildly, lack of ingenuity from our government. You think about the 80s, right? And just screw that. Go back before that, all the way through until today. We've had multiple wars, catastrophic. We've had Vietnam. We had 9/11. The height of the Cold War, when they were fighting the Cold War, multiple economic crashes, including a huge one in Japan. Things never got to how they are right now.
Right.
Mm-hmm. They didn't. I mean, there was a case during another Democrat, like Jimmy Carter area, when it was, really, really bad. But I think about under the Reagan administration, they had this thing, I don't know if you remember, called the Socrates Project. And that probably won us the Cold War. But the Socrates Project under the Reagan administration was they completely changed the way the government saw technology, how the government interacted with tech, how they enabled people to create new technologies, and how that filtered down into the economy, which blew up our economy. Without that, we probably wouldn't have had GPS, probably wouldn't have had the internet, satellite technology, everything else that came, and then stealth technology, all this stuff helped fuel not only our military prowess, but also our civilian economy as well.
But that is how you grow a company. That is a growth phase. We have not been in a growth phase, and I say that even with our last president. I mean, it was more stabilizing and kicking the tables over, but truly allowing this country to grow. We have been stagnant for a long time. And we're backsliding like crazy at the moment.
Where has the American ingenuity been since then? It's insane. George H.W. Bush actually abolished the Socrates Project, and now we're being overtaken by both China and Russia's even testing hypersonic missiles for crying out loud before us. It's embarrassing.
Yeah. All right, we've got more to come. First, we want to thank our sponsor, Sweatblock. So, guys, have you ever been you're giving a presentation or you're on a really awesome date, which both of you are married, but just think back, okay? And you start getting this really embarrassing armpit sweat and it goes through your shirt and you're like, well, this is really cool. Everyone can see that I'm super sweaty. That ever happened to you?
I don't sweat.
I don't sweat.
No. I see it all the time.
With me?
No, not with you. I see it all the time.
Never.
I go out to a restaurant and I'm like, oh, that poor guy.
Even when I played sport, I just don't.
It's drenched under the arms and you're like, man, that is embarrassing. Okay, so if that is you, which these guys are pretending like they don't sweat, but they're lying to you because all guys I know are super sweaty. Sweatblock is actually your answer. You got to try it. They have a antiperspirant wipe and a deodorant as well, but the wipe is really where it's at because when you use it, it can last up to 7 days without any sort of reapplication, and it will save you the embarrassment of having the sweaty armpits. I can tell you that my husband has tried it. Again, I don't mean to embarrass him. It's just that he was really sweaty before he tried Sweatblock, and now that he uses those wipes and the deodorant, he was moving furniture outside the other day in 100-degree heat, and he didn't have the armpit sweat marks, okay? So you got to try it. You can try it risk-free. You can save 20% with promo code NEWS over at sweatblock.com. You can get it on Amazon, but go ahead and go over to Sweatblock and give the News and Why It Matters the credit if you would. Use promo code NEWS over at sweatblock.com. Yesterday, Joe Biden responding to a question about making vaccines available to young children, because as we know, young children, very vulnerable to COVID. Got to make sure to get them vaccinated with, of course, also, as we know, the safest and most effective vaccine ever in the history of the world. But he said that his administration was working to make sure that there were enough vaccines, but also that his administration was investing money into preparing for the next pandemic, apparently, that I guess they're already planning. I don't know. Watch.
For COVID funding going into the fall, how much of the supply of vaccines for these small children is there,
He has no idea
and
what's
how many of the nation's kids will you be able to get vaccinated before you need more money from Congress?
Well, we'll get through at least this year. We do need more money, but we don't just need more money for vaccines for children eventually. We need more money to plan for the second pandemic. There's going to be another pandemic.
Wait.
We have to think ahead.
What?
And that's not something the last outfit did very well. That's something we've been doing fairly well. That's why we need the money.
What are the vaccine? What? What
But
are the
Sarah,
vaccines
don't you know
for?
he was there? They discussed it at Davos. They're planning the second pandemic. We're probably funding it. He's just saying it out loud, you know?
Listen, just saying, November's around the corner. I could potentially see some sort of excuse for mail-in ballots and all of the other things that they did as, of course, we know, again, the safest and most secure election in United States history, which is why the fortification happened. I got all that, okay? But I'm just saying, look, would you put it past them? Would you put it past them?
No, I'm going to start calling this party Hail Mary. That's all. They're Hail Mary.
They really
and they
are.
will throw a concocted pandemic, virus as a Hail Mary. They will do it.
Well, I'm just like, is he talking about another COVID variant? Is it monkeypox? Is that what we're going to ramp up to? Is that what it is? I just like, I don't know. I wouldn't put it past them.
I don't even know if it's I don't know if he means virus when he says pandemic. I'm increasingly coming to the point to where I think that the climate health crisis, which is probably exactly what they'll call it, is probably the next on their list. I remember during the initial waves of the lockdowns, remember how they were, I think it was Venice, they were showing pictures of Venice and the rivers in Venice, and they were like, look how clean they are. Wow, this is what the lockdown, this is one of the bonuses of it, it's cleaning up the environment, all this stuff. I think about that, and I think earlier this week, or was it over the weekend? I think it was parts of France were starting to ban outdoor activities due to the climate crisis. They were calling it a health crisis because they can't leave it up to you whether to step outside. Oh, it's too hot. I think I'll stay inside today. They have to actually ban and stop people from going out in public because of the heat. I think that's exactly the direction they're going. I think that they saw exactly.
Food.
I think they saw exactly what they could push, what they could actually get done just by saying, hey, it's a health emergency. Everyone stay in their homes, do what we tell you. You'll follow right along, which the majority of the country did. That's the direction they're going into. And it's all about how much power they can consume and keep off of that.
Which again, you would think they could make the argument for mail-in ballots because you don't want all of that air pollution from all of the transportation to the voting booth.
Look, I do think food plays a role in it. When we see last week the 25th food processing plant magically burning down in the U.S., and this is underreported, and farmers saying, hey, they're telling me to burn my crops. So I think food is going to play a part.
Wait a second. You don't feel comfortable about Bill Gates buying up the most farmland in the United States? You're not...
Largest private holder?
Yeah, you're not...
I'm just saying, connect the dots. Let's play connect the dots here for a second. They are impacting it's a manufactured food crisis. It's going to get real. So I think probably it's a combination of food, climate, or climate change, no longer global warming, climate. But I put food, we need to, look, they're busy, they're working hard. Gates is buying up land, Soros is buying up conservative radio stations like crazy, bought 13 stations in the last 2 weeks, I think. George Soros, and conservatives are selling to George Soros, so shame on them. There's some rhinos. So I think it's food and climate, but I'm watching them do some things in food that's not good.
My biggest worry is that the pandemic template has been laid out.
Correct.
And it has been proven to get them what they want.
It works.
So I think that even, and Joe, I don't think has a coherent thought. He hears things that happen in the West Wing, and he's like, yeah, whatever, tell me what to say, and I'll say it, whatever. But I don't think they need a virus. I really don't to get what they want, and they definitely don't need the threat of a virus. Well, maybe they do need the threat of a virus to get a social contract to be able to, I don't know, hoard billions and billions of dollars and whatever else that they want to do.
But he just told you we need more money, which means we're going to run the printing press. Because where's it going to come from? Where's the money going to come from? We're not manufacturing nothing. What are we exporting? What are we selling? You know, it's hey, let's print more money. Let's play Monopoly.
I want to go back to something you said, Jason. You don't think that Joe Biden knows what's going on? Can you guys pull up? I want to pull up his face in the last video. I want to see. Listen,
he's digging.
You don't think that a guy
he's reaching,
with that
Sarah.
look on his
He's trying
face
very
knows
hard.
what's going on? What could you possibly be seeing that would lead you to believe that this man has no idea what's going on and is waiting for people to tell him what to say?
He has that look from a reporter that was probably pre-picked beforehand, and he was probably reading his question along with him in the prompter as it was happening, and he still didn't know what the hell was going on.
Right.
Look, Joe Biden is the quintessential poster child of a participation trophy. He is showing up, boys. That's all you can expect of him. He's there.
Well, also elder abuse. But
yes, that's true. By his wife.
And his
Culprit
son
number one.
and Kamala and all of them. Yeah. All right. You know what? Let's take a break, and when we get back, let's talk about I think Yaku wants to feel a little vindicated because now they're talking about Gavin Newsom as the possibly the new Democrat replacement for Joe Biden. We'll get into that after the break. Longtime Democrat Party strategist David Axelrod says that Gavin Newsom over in California may be the Democrat Party's strongest choice to run for president. Now, they say if Joe Biden backs out, but I think we all know, where they're going with that is well, we all know Joe is not healthy or fit enough to run again, if he even makes it through this first term. And so Axelrod said if the president were not to run, it's hard to imagine that Newsom would not be sorely tempted to enter the race. Newsom is young and politically muscular, which may just be what the market will be seeking post-Biden. Yaku, I'm going to let you look. You floated this idea. You were the first one to do so, I believe, on this program. And we're like, but he's so bad. How could that be possible?
Just because my ear's on the ground and I hear what the liberals are saying, and he's their champion. Who else? Buttigieg? I mean, Buttigieg that can't run the transportation department.
But he's on maternity leave.
Yeah, he's giving birth, all the time. I mean, he's successful at giving birth. No, look, they actually have to revive Hillary from the dead, or it's Newsom. Who else do they have? And I'm not an I told you so guy, but I heard that and I was like, they're gonna prop this guy up. When he survived the recall, that's when I started hearing that talk. It's like, okay, I think we can push this guy.
But even the Democrats hated enough to try to recall him.
I know, but he's their guy. Who else?
Almost 40% of the people that voted to recall him. There's no, I mean, that's in California.
Yeah,
his base. So there's no way.
No.
He is the poster child. Basically, California is the poster child for what the National Democrat Party wants for the entire country. Mm-hmm. And they've gotten a taste with that with the Biden administration. There's no way that someone like Newsom can get the independent votes that Biden got just because the independents just did not like Trump. There's no way. No way.
There is no way.
I would love for them to try.
No, I'd like for them to run him because that's a walkover. I mean, that is an easy. I mean, that is.
But don't they all seem like walkovers at this point?
But you have Joe Biden in the White House. I mean, is there a step down from that? There's not. I mean, so.
Well, but here's the thing that I worry about is that yes, when you look at the actual matchup, I don't see anyone who could. We could run a trained monkey, I feel like, at this point and still win. But what have they done to secure elections to make sure that if there were perhaps voter fraud, which we know, of course, voter fraud has never happened before in the history of this country, the Democrats tell us, okay? But if there were potentially any sort of voter fraud going on, we have, I don't think, enough assurances that wouldn't just be enough to, help them out. So
I've seen there's been some red and purple states that have taken some strides, which I think will help.
Right.
But I mean, in some places, it's not even gonna matter.
Did you watch a documentary by Dinesh? Did you watch?
Yeah.
So, but what about in those particular states that they discussed?
That's crazy.
I mean, I don't.
Look, I'll say this. Nobody has yet to come up with a number.
We're talking in code this whole
I know, it's like hard.
I hate, just for the record, for the viewers, I freaking hate this crap. I mean, I'm just telling you. I just want to call a spade a spade. I'll say this. I'm still waiting for anybody, including Dinesh, to tell me, what's the number? Give me the number. I'll never forget. We were at Liberty University. Charlie Kirk was on stage. I was on stage, and they were talking about the number. It was like 6% that they were thinking about if there was to be meddling, let's call it that Trump could survive at 6%. What is the percentage? What is the percentage that we can tell American conservatives to say, listen, we have to win with such a majority, such a super majority, that no matter what they do, we got to close the gap on what is it. And I'm still waiting for anybody to tell me, because if we think that there's going to be meddling, then okay, give me the number and then let's play above the card. Wake up, conservatives, and understand, when we know that 40% of Christian conservatives did not vote, 40%, that's unacceptable, Jason. So I don't care what the left does. As corrupt as they are, at some point we've got to take some ownership on the right and say, we've got a very sick GOP. We got to get rid of rhinos, and we better step up and play like it's for our lives in November, and then never let up. What did we do? Trump walks in, he's got the Senate and the House, and we give it up. We give up the House and they impeach him. Months later, they impeach him. It's like, we don't play to finish the game. We need to play for once and actually say, when we're up 40 points, make it 80. Finish. Play to the whistle.
Well, I would just like to state for the record that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was asked recently on CNN if she would vote for the president in 2024, and she refused to say. We played the clip on the program.
Really?
But yeah, so it's just interesting. Like, people are saying a Democrat. I mean, I guess I wouldn't call her a Democrat. She's more of just like a left-wing nut. But even people within their own party are like, we'll see what happens. He hasn't said he's running yet, so I can't answer.
Which kind of illustrates the catastrophic fail of the Biden, administration so far. Like, they were able to get people like AOC, people like Bernie Sanders on board by promising he was going to be like the next FDR. And he hasn't gone far enough. They're mad at him. Independents are mad at him. Of course, conservatives are mad at him. So they don't have the far left. Really, so all they have is like that establishment in D.C. that are galvanizing around him. That it's really all he has right now. I'm just racking my brain trying to figure out who would actually be a good challenger to anybody the Republicans would throw at him. And I can't think of like a Joe Manchin, like a Joe Manchin. Joe Manchin could take a run for it.
But they hate him.
They will not run Manchin.
Hate him.
They can't control him. They won't run Manchin. He would make a look. That would be an opponent. Give you the last word.
I'm saying, like, he'd be the only one I can think of that would get enough Democrat support plus all the independents to like actually scare me. But everybody else, the country is sick of what they know that what they're shoveling is bullcrap.
Yeah,
they know it.
Yeah. All right, we got to take a break. We'll be back. It's still June, and it's still Pride Month, and we are forced to have insufferable content because of those two things. And the Columbus, Ohio Police Department tweeted out this video of their new cruiser in honor of Pride Month. Watch.
Hi, I'm Officer Lutz with the Columbus Division of Police. I'm your LGBTQIA+ liaison officer. And we're unveiling right now our Pride Cruiser for the month of June.
This is unbelievable.
Report hate crimes.
I'm excited about this cruiser. It's great for representation.
Also a horrible video. The music is way too loud.
This is so weak. It makes us look so weak. Jake, this is an embarrassment.
Okay, so yesterday, I know we've only got a little bit of time left. Yesterday we played the one from the Navy that they had just released that was like just so, it is so embarrassing. It's so embarrassing.
The pro-down video?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're going to have a bunch of mermans now, in the Navy. The world's going to respect us. They're going to go, America's strong. She's really strong. She's got mermans floating on the ocean. She's got the bastardization of the rainbow on cop cars.
No one fears us. Everyone is laughing at us. It's really sad. Guys, thanks for being here. I appreciate it. We'll see you guys tomorrow.